Welcome everyone to the Small Business Administration Disaster Loan webinar for the severe flooding event that occurred in New York City on September 29th. My name is Melissa Umberger. I'm the Executive Director of Risk Analysis and Recovery here at New York City Emergency Management. So we are pleased to have representatives from SBA and our community partners to discuss the availability of low-interest disaster loans that can help residents, businesses, and nonprofit organizations recover from this event. So a little bit about this event that occurred on September 29th. It brought excessive rainfall across all 5 boroughs with 8.65 inches of rain reported at JFK Airport and rainfall rates of 2.5 inches per hour. That is the most rainfall ever reported for a September day, beating the record set in 1960 from Hurricane Donna. So based on New York City Emergency Management's assessment of damage report data that came from 311 service requests and the report damage portal, we requested to New York State DISHES for a Small Business Association Administration disaster declaration. So we're happy to say that SBA did declare a declaration for Brooklyn with adjacent counties of Manhattan, Queens, and Staten Island. There are 2 ways to apply for a disaster loan. There is, a way to apply online, but we've also opened 2 disaster loan outreach centers, which are staffed by SBA personnel until next Friday, December 22nd. So as I said in the beginning, we do have 2 of our community partners that are hosting these disaster loan outreach centers. And so we're going to hear from them. We'll first hear from Rabbi David Niederman, who is the president of the United Jewish Organization of Williamsburg in North Brooklyn, UJO. So I'll pass it to Rabbi Niederman. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. At first, let me thank everybody on the call and those who are behind those desks that made sure that the declaration for the disaster area in Williamsburg was declared. It was extremely important. Hundreds of hundreds of homes all over, but hard hit in Williamsburg was the Wallabout area where the families were the hardest hit. So one asked the question, what the people are saying. Let me say one question people are asking. When can we assure that the infrastructure in Williamsburg is going to be addressed so that we don't have that major flooding and we don't go through this whenever there's a big rainfall? But in the meantime, they're very happy to that everybody here on the call, the SBA, the governor, and the Homeland Security, the mayor, Mayor Adams, and his team of emergency management are worked so hard that this declaration happened. Okay. And let me give a shout out to the people of SBA who come to our center at the UJO, who really there and work hard to present the opportunities to the people. I can say they are on top of me, but so they sit in our conference room. But I see the smiling faces when the people come down. They're happy with the services that they have gotten. So I'm trying to say, and we are trying to say, is that you have a opportunity which actually stops next week, Friday. And therefore, it's important that you've had damage. You should come in to the UJO, 32 Penn Street, for more even than 9 to 5, 9 to 6. And come in and apply for the funding. The funding will help you overcome the terrible situation you find yourself.
Great.
Is it okay to say a few words in Yiddish?
Yes, please.
So, good morning, a freilichen Chanukah. It's weiß mir alle, we sind sommer gefaced, a major disaster, when es gekommen der Regens in the areas in Wallabout, die ganze Gegend ist geworden flooded, in zähnlicher Heimen, in businesses, sind geworden verschwemmt, und man hat schwere Schulden. Wir sind sehr zufrieden, wir gearbeitet darauf. In Baruch Hashem, the government or declared as a disaster area. In Mile is eligible for low interest rate funds to can correcting the situation. And es kommt Dank for SBA, es kommt Dank for Governor Hochul, for the Homeland Security, and for the state and the city home emergency management services in the mayor. For declaring days and for machen es ermöglichen, aber so können applyen. Wir sind sehr zufrieden, als man ausgewählt UJO is a site, wo man kann kommen, immer soll kommen, sie do bis nächste Woche Freitag kann man kommen, man kann applyen for low interest rates zu verrechten die students. And we soll nehmen the opportunity in derselbe Zeit push man, aber man soll verbessern den Infrastructure beklau a freilichen Chanukah.
Great. Thank you so much, Rabbi Niederman. So I'm also pleased to announce that we have another disaster loan outreach center in Brooklyn, and we are joined by Lena Chen, who is the president of Health Essential Association. So I'm going to pass it to her to talk about that outreach center as well.
Good morning. Happy holidays. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for this opportunity to our community. So most of the people, they have a question. They also want the FEMA to come. So the you know that like for loan, so I know that is a lower interest, but the people still very difficult to afford. So they also most people ask me, so even the homeland landlord, so they also ask me, so we get it's like we have a damage, but we already pay, but if somebody can reimbursement will be better for us. So so many people and also last Friday we went to another restaurant. I also asked that owner, so that owner said, Lena, too bad, so I already closed my business. So I need help, but I already closed like last Friday. So so I don't know, like maybe we need to find this small business loan is good for a community also, but they also need somebody help to reimbursement the damage that costs. So you guys can think about this way. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Lena. Could you also just tell us the location of the outreach center and the hours?
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, our location at the 86th Street is a landmark location and a busy location, and also very convenient location. So the location address is 2336 86th Street. They can take the D train, go to the Bay Parkway or 25th Avenue, and also they can take the B1 or B3 directly go to our location. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. So now I would like to introduce Sharon Gadbois, who is the Public Affairs Specialist Lead from SBA, who will provide some more information about how a SBA low interest loan can help homeowners, renters, business owners, and houses of worship recover. So Sharon, I pass it to you.
Thank you so much, Melissa, for introducing me. And I definitely want to thank the community host for coming on. It's always nice to see that when they come on the call and introduce their center location and give the address, it really drives the point home. And also, thank you for being so active in your community. Okay, so I'm here today to let you know that SBA really can help your community. And I know a lot of times people think, SBA, we're not a business, you can't help us, we're a homeowner or renter. So I do want to speak to some of the other questions that sort of popped up, but in a little bit, okay? So first off, SBA, I know you see the SBA blue logo there, and most people think of it as, the traditional side SBA. So just in the forefront, SBA does help a budding entrepreneur to start a business, grow a business, and expand a business, but they also help them to recover from a disaster, okay? And so I work on that little tiny side, the disaster side. And so that's why I'm here now. But we also help homeowners and renters. Actually, more than 85% of the people we help are homeowners and renters. And so we're actually the largest provider of disaster recovery funds, even beyond FEMA. Okay. And we've been around since 1953. And so we actually provide assistance for man-made disasters or even natural disasters. Okay, just as a little tip there. And so one of the things I like to do is I like to kind of go into an example, right? So this usually is pretty relevant example. Most people do this. So this will kind of set, the analogy down. And so I like to go into like what I call a credit card scenario example. A lot of times people have already started the rebuilding process, right? The recovery process, because, the September flood happened obviously in September, right? Which is now just over 2 months, 2.5 months-ish, right, ago. So people are normally are do-it-yourselfers. Essentially what happens is when people get some kind of impact from a disaster, it's like a little tornado going off in our brain, right? So people who work in emergency management, there's no real tornado there. But I could tell you that it's for regular people who have not been through some kind of disaster like that, at least not a lot of times, it's very catastrophic, right? So it's kind of like when somebody loses their job, everything stops, right? Everything stops. And that means no spending, anything like that. We have to reassess what's going on in our life to figure out how we're going to move forward, right? So like a disaster, that little tornado that's going on in their brain, everything stops, right? They don't really know what's going on. It's our job as the community leaders to guide them to maybe facilitate and help get them on road to recovery, okay? So let's say, I'm just going to use Melissa as Aunt Melissa for the example, okay? And so let's say Aunt Melissa lived in an area that was had a lot of damage, okay, and had a lot of flooding. And let's say she has an older roof and she didn't replace it in the last 15 to 20 years. And so she had a lot of rain, and the rain damaged her roof, and it caused a major leak. So now she has a pretty good sizable hole in her roof, okay? But let's say Aunt Melissa here is a do-it-yourselfer. Okay, she calls all of her roofing buddies. She gets the best estimate. Maybe to fix her roof, it's about $50,000. I don't know. I'm just using that as a number. Okay, so $50,000. So you go to your local lumber yard and you buy all your supplies. You get to the checkout counter and you use what? A credit card. Most people will use a credit card. Not everyone. Some people will use cash. But for the people that use credit cards, you would agree that credit card interest rates are around 20 or 30%. Am I right? Yeah. Okay, so 20, 30%. Now, you could actually take out a low interest disaster loan with the SBA and pay yourself back for all the supplies that you purchased on your credit card. Now, the low interest disaster loan with the SBA for homeowner and renter is as low as 2.5%, compared with 20% or 30%. That's thousands of dollars you're saving just in that alone. Now, what happens, Aunt Melissa, if you don't make that $50,000 payment in 30 days? Come off mic if you want. Yeah. So, okay. So I can tell by her face, right? So if you don't make that $50,000 payment in 30 days, you know, a lot of things change, right? Like your credit gets shot, the interest rates go up, and your payment gets higher, right? However, with the low interest disaster loan with the SBA, you have up to 30 years to pay it off. So that really stretches out the payment over time. So that stretches out the payment so that the payment is much smaller. Could you pay it off early? You sure could. Could you make a sizable down payment? You sure could. Could you make that first initial payment? Yes, you could do that too. Now let me explain to you a little bit about that. The first year with SBA, there's 0% and 12-month deferment. Let me say that one more time. So the first year is 0% and 12-month deferment, okay? So let's say, for instance, you took out a renovation loan with your bank, okay? So when I was in Georgia, the United States, Georgia, a couple of months back for Hurricane Idalia, it was 7% for renovation loan. Well, it's pretty close to 9% now. So 9%. So, you know, realistically, it's not going to probably be 50,000. Maybe it will be for you. Maybe it won't. But most people will be somewhere around 200,000. Let's just say. So if you took out a $200,000 renovation loan and you times that with 9%, that's $18,000 you owe the bank the first year. Unfortunately, you'll also owe the bank another $18,000 in the second year. So in 2 years' time, you owe the bank $36,000. If you take out a low interest disaster loan with the SBA, it's 0% for the first year and then 2.5% the second year. So out of the $36,000, you would only owe SBA $5,000. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So that's now I also heard by watching the news that somebody dipped into their child's education savings. It's very similar. You know, you have receipts, you have your pictures that you take, you know, all these things are helpful when you're applying. Okay. Do you need all these things? No, but it's very helpful, of course, to help your case, right? So when you go and apply, it's important to have at least the basic necessity stuff with you, meaning you should have your mobile phone if you have one. And make sure that your email is connected to your cell phone. Now, if you don't have one of those, some people still don't have mobile phones, and I understand that. Maybe they're still working off flip phones because some people do that. And I don't mean the Samsung flip phone. I mean the old-fashioned flip phones, okay? And so it's important to at least bring your email address and your password. Why? Because there's some kind of login identity thing that they do in the very beginning stages. And you need to be able to go into your email and select, hey, this is me, right? So they're going to do that login identity in the beginning, okay? Let me see. Now, the physical property damages are like the real estate itself, okay? Like the debris, landscaping, fencing, the real estate itself, the roof, the siding, things like that. Now, we also cover underinsured and uninsured losses. So that's under and uninsured losses. We cover automobiles and insurance deductibles. Okay, so that's really important to know. Let's see. The deadline to apply for physical damages is February 2nd of next year, which is Groundhog's Day. And also the EIDL, if you have economic injury disaster loan. I'm going to go into one quick example for that, if I may, is, okay, let's use Aunt Melissa as a scenario, okay? And let's just say, that she has a huge family of 50, okay? And so let's say every Saturday, she likes to meet up with them for lunch. And maybe they go over to the DCOB market, okay, which is underneath around Trader Joe's. Yeah, okay. And so maybe they go to the El Cubano over there and they can get like an entree for like, I don't know, $10 or $15. Let's just use $10 for easy numbers, okay? So 10 times 50 people that she has for a family, they go to El Cubano every every Saturday, right? And they hang out and catch up for family tradition because it's just what they do. They've been doing it for years. So 10 times 50 is $500. Well, if she's doing that every week, that's a couple $1,000s a month that she's spending at El Cubano, right? Baller Melissa, right? So, right, I'm just, yeah. Okay, so if she has her home that's damaged from the previous scenario where her home was damaged or her roof was damaged, now remember what I told you before, everything stops, all spending stops, right? There's no more partying it up with your family at El Cubano. Okay, so if she's stopping spending there, not just Melissa, but maybe Lena, maybe Jill, maybe Sam, maybe Rai Niederman, everyone stops going that's been damaged or has had damage from the storm because they have to reassess where their money's going to go, right? So if she's stopping there, that means $2,000 a month is not going to El Cubano. What does that mean? They don't have money for lights, maybe they don't have money for payroll, they don't have money for supplies. So that means that they have a revenue, like a pension revenue, somebody might call it, or economic downturn. We, SBA, refers to it as economic injury. And that means now they're eligible for our economic injury disaster loan. Make sense? Great. So let me see if there's other things I want to touch on. Okay.
Sharon, if I could just ask a follow-up question, but that would be for the business owner to apply for those losses of, right?
Yeah,
okay,
so the
great.
Business can actually apply for physical property damage. And of course, it's not called personal property. It's more like business contents or assets. And then also if a business has physical damage, lots of damage from the flood, and they had to close their doors, anytime that you have to close your doors, that means you're not making revenue. That's also equivalent to economic injury. And so you could also apply for that. Typically, when a business does apply, they will help also enroll you or apply, help you. They will also include your application for EIDL to combine the two, because if you have to close your doors for any reason, that typically means you're not taking any kind of revenue, and that means there's an EIDL there. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, let's open it up to our community partners. Lena.
Oh, thank you. Oh, that's good. That's a good answer. So, so many people, they don't know.
Right. That's why I'm here. Thank you so much. Yeah. I met you yesterday, I think. I was at your store yesterday. I came in late, but we should have talked a little more then. Next time I'll come back through and I'll talk to you more.
Right. So if I like door by door to tell the owner, the business owner, that's totally different. Yeah, that's totally different. Oh my God. So that's really very helpful.
Yeah. So Lena, if you want to do some kind of like a business town hall in your location, we can work on that. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so let me today finish my is another the job. So I will go to 86th Street and tell the whoever, so how many owner I can tell them. So let it come and to know more. So maybe more helpful. It's really very important information. Thank you.
Yeah, so make sure you get the information to that gentleman that closed last week, because that may help him to reopen. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Got you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. Does anyone have a question from UJO?
Yes. Hi, this is Sam Stern. So first, this is news to me also that a business can claim economic injury. The question is how they can demonstrate what the injury came from, how they lost their customer base. But this is important information that we did not know. Secondly, I got a question from a business that they got the EIDL loan, I think, through COVID, but they're a little bit backdated on payments. If this would prevent them or from getting this, they had flood damage, of how this works, if they can apply.
Yeah. Hi, Sam. It's so nice to see you again. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you next week. So let's see. The first question was how do they prove, right? So there's what they call the last year's federal tax returns. So that's one avenue. They want to know what you were making prior to the disaster, right? And had the disaster not occurred, you probably would still be making that same amount of money, or hopefully more. And so there's other documents that go inside with that, where it's like maybe the profit and loss. I'm sure you're familiar with that. They also have what they call a personal financial statement. If a business has only been open for like maybe less than a year and they haven't filed taxes yet, this is where bank statements might come into play. So, Noel is there. I know I don't know how to pronounce his name the correct way, but Noel is there, and the whole team, Mike Schwartz and George Smith and Marino is there. And they're also super experienced when it comes to this. So you can actually, there's some additional documents, but for this particular person, I would strongly recommend visiting talking with our subject matter experts over there in that office. And that whole team, they really come together and work together as a team to make sure that, the constituents and your clients that come through there are very well cared for. So I wouldn't hesitate to ask them, like all the documents that they might need. But you know what? Don't let that person or that business defer them from applying, because even if they don't have any of those documents, they can still apply. They can get those documents uploaded through their portal as they become available. And then there was one other question that you asked. I'm sorry, I forgot.
I think that was the second one, that the business that had the idle loan, that is he's back, fell back on payments if we can get the.
Oh, okay, that one. Yep. Okay, so that's a trick question. So typically, if you fall back on payments, it depends on how many fall back on payments, I think, and how deep in the hole they really are. But typically, if I was to answer that from like from right as you've asked, typically if they fall back on those payments, this is a possibility where they may not be able to get the second loan. So if it's not too far behind and they were able to catch up, that kind of thing, it's possible that, let's say you do have a COVID idle and you needed another idle. You can have two different idles. They are not combinable, or they're not, you can't, I forget that word is, but you can't combine them, essentially, and, or merge them or anything like that. They are two separate loans, but, I don't know. I wouldn't be able to play an answer to that. It would really depend on how deep he's behind, but maybe encourage him to apply, but do let him know that is a possibility. There, may be some kind of whatever. If he has some kind of, if he has a real good reason as to why he's behind, maybe he got burned up with COVID, maybe he's been medically behind, something like that, you can write that in a letter and save it as a PDF document and send it in with your, not send it in with your application, but if they ask, or maybe he receives an unfavorable letter in this particular one, that might be one of the objections he needs to overcome, and that's where that letter might come in handy. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? Good question so far.
Yeah. Just
So-
one question. Oh, go ahead.
Okay,
Sorry,
Sam.
Sam.
Actually, you said that it's not combinable. I did get a question from a homeowner that he had I think during Garin or a prior disaster, he got a loan and he's still paying it.
Mhm.
He was trying to increase that loan. Is that instead of starting a new process? Is that doable?
So if let's see, if let's say there was a storm within the last couple of years and they receive money from that, they have up to 2 years from the date of their promissory note to ask for mitigation funds. So I'm really kind of actually glad that you brought that up. So mitigation is a form of preparation, right, for the next storm. And so for mitigation, it's not a mitigation loan necessarily, it's a mitigation aspect to the physical property damage. So they could ask for additional funds to help them mitigate for future damage. So they may receive up to 20% of the SBA's verified loss of whatever that previous disaster was. So if that's within 2 years from previous, then they have, they can get up to 20%. So let's say they were awarded 200,000, right? They can get up to 20%. So that would be up to an additional 40% to cover for mitigation. So like sub pumps, retaining walls, storm shelters, things like that. And there's other things, but those are just some examples.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Melissa, I think, did you have a question?
Yeah, no, it's really great to hear the mitigation funds aspect. I'm assuming that would include things like elevating boilers or electrical and mechanical equipment as well.
I believe that those things would be covered. Definitely would want to talk with the loan officer, case manager regarding those specific questions. They would really be able to hone in on the specificity of those particular questions. Yeah. Yep.
Great. I think you answered this, but I'm going to ask it
Okay.
again. So at the DLOCs, the Disaster Loan Outreach Centers, are the customer service reps from SBA able to help determine economic injury loss?
So I think that they ask questions to kind of determine what, based on the application, right? Because the application asks certain questions. And I think that they ask certain questions that needs to be filled in the application. They basically help them along. But as far as determinability, like we don't determine in the field if somebody's eligible or not. It's not our job to play God, right? So we actually just encourage people to apply. We tell people don't discount themselves. Don't try to like come up with reasons or what I say excuses to discount yourself or to apply, because even like the weird circumstances that sometimes we don't think that something's going to fly off, and it comes through, and then before you know it, somebody has a little bit of money to do what they need to do to get onto the road recovery. Our goal is really to help those recover as quickly as possible. And I'm not sure if people know this, but it takes an economy about 3 to 5 years to fully recover after a disaster. So our job is really to help you for the long haul. We're here to help you. That's really what our main goal is, to help an economy fully recover. Now, an economy doesn't just mean business. It also means the people that live in it, right? Because the people that live in it are the ones that circulate their money in the economy, right? So that's really how it goes.
Wonderful. So just one last pause to see if there's any other questions.
I know there's some stuff in the chat. I don't know if there's anything pertains to me or not. Okay. Oh yeah. So the disaster loan outreach centers will be closing on December 22nd. That's as of next Friday. So time is important, and it's imminent, right? That we get to the centers. Now it's really important to share this information with community members that may not be access to social media or newsletter or email or any kind of computer, right? It's really important to get the word of mouth out there. So if there are any organizations that are involved with community members or neighborhoods that maybe they're sort of in an area that not access to the digital aspect like we have, please let me know. Maybe there's some kind of way that we can either talk to a church, we can go to a synagogue, we can talk to any kind of that type of outreach where they may be present there, and we can give a presentation on our material and hopefully get people out there. Now, should the center close and you need to apply, you can apply online at sba.gov/disaster. You can also call the 1-800 number, 1-800-659-2955, and request a paper application be mailed. Now, if the paper application is being mailed, the actual deadline to apply for physical property damages, again, is February 2nd of next year, which is equal to famous Groundhog's Day. Yeah. There was something else in there.
Apologies, but one more question.
Yeah, that's okay. You don't have to apologize. Please ask.
Is there any insurance requirements for people that do receive the loans?
So I'm really glad that you brought that up. So of course, like there's a couple of different things I want to mention with insurance. Okay, so after a disaster, of course, people will call their insurance company for those that are insured, right? But even though like you think that maybe it's going to cover XYZ, right, and maybe A also, and then when you talk with the insurance company, maybe it's only covering Z. So there's a lot of parts of that that's not, and then you have a huge deductible. So SBA actually will front you the money. It's really important to apply with SBA prior to you getting any kind of insurance check. The insurance check that comes down through the mail is typically around 8 or 9 months after, and that's long after your ability to apply. So applying now preserves your options. Let me say that again. Applying now preserves your options. So for instance, if you know, the insurance happens to be a miracle and it comes in less than 2 months before February 2nd, maybe it comes in February 1st, and it covers, let's say, the whole thing, right? Then you can actually tell SBA that you don't want the loan. But maybe something happens and you actually found that you have more damage later. I don't know. Something happens later and you need to reopen your reopen your loan. You can simply let them know, hey, I want to reactivate my application. So if you apply and then you just say after 60 days or within 60 days that you don't want it, you can do that. But then let's say 3 months down the road, you change your mind and you do actually need it. You can just call them back, or you can write them back and say, hey, can you please reopen my application? However, if you don't apply, guess what? You don't have that option to do that. So always apply now, preserve your options to cover damages. And then for insurance, okay, so when you have a loan, when you have a loan, you are they're going to require some kind of insurance. I don't know what kind of insurance they're going to require to have. It really depends. Everything is like a thumbprint, right? It's a unique situation to you. So I don't know what kind of insurance they're going to require you to have, but it'll probably have some kind of insurance. And you'll need to keep up with the payments through the life of the loan, just the life of the loan. So if you make all your payments on a monthly basis for the next, I don't know, 30 years, then you'll have to keep up the insurance for that time frame. If, let's say, you decide after the first year, remember 0%, and you were able to get it together and you want to make a full payment, there's no prepayment penalties to make that full payment, you can go ahead and do that. So just so you know, just kind of keep those things in mind. You will have to keep the insurance through the life loan. Now, if you don't do that and there's another storm that happens later on, they're not going to come after you and tell you, that you didn't continue payments. Will they know? Of course they will. They always find out. So, don't try to skirt around that. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, and I guess just a follow up, if you're in the special flood hazard zone area, is there a requirement to purchase flood insurance if you are a borrower of an SBA loan?
I don't know. I don't know the exact answer on that.
Okay.
So I would think that the best course would be to definitely check in with the case manager or the loan officer. They're definitely going to know the answer to that. So after they apply, when they get a call, not maybe the initial call for the loss verifier to come over and check the assessments, but when they actually speak with their loan officer, that would be a great time to ask them that question.
Great. Wonderful. All right. So I just want to close now. Thank you so much, Sharon, for providing this helpful information about the disaster loans. I think, there's a lot of questions about SBA loans that I think you helped clear up and should hopefully encourage more people to apply. I also want to thank Rabbi Niederman and Lena Chen, both for hosting the DLOCs, but then also participating in this webinar. We really value our community partnerships, and, we're very hopeful that through these partnerships and doing webinars like this will help encourage people to apply. I know we said this before, but just as a reminder, the disaster loan outreach centers will close on December 22nd. You can still apply online after that point. UJO in Williamsburg will close at 12 p.m. Noon next Friday, and Health Essentials and Bensonhurst will be open until 4 p.m. With that, thank you all so much.